Imagine the sheer heartbreak of waiting over 2 years for answers, only to learn that your loved one has been returned, not alive, but as a body from the depths of conflict. That's the raw reality facing families as Israel officially identifies the remains of 4 hostages handed back by Hamas during the recent Gaza ceasefire deal. But here's where it gets controversial. While this moment brings some closure, it also stirs up deep-seated tensions over delays, accusations, and the fragile peace itself. Stick around, because the full story reveals layers of tragedy, bravery, and political standoffs that most news outlets skim over. Just 2 hours ago, reports from David Gritton and Rushdie Abu-Alouf, Gaza correspondent in Istanbul via Reuters, detailed how Israel has confirmed the identities of these 4 deceased individuals. On Tuesday morning, the Israeli military publicly named 2 of them, Guy Illouz, a 26-year-old from Israel, and Bipin Joshi, a 23-year-old Nepalese national. Shortly after, their families stepped forward to identify the remaining 2, 53-year-old Israeli Yossi Sharabi and 22-year-old Daniel Peretz, who held dual Israeli-South African citizenship. Amid this somber development, Israeli officials announced a tough stance. They'd curb humanitarian aid flowing into Gaza and postpone reopening the Rafah border crossing with Egypt. The reason? Hamas hadn't delivered the bodies of the other 24 deceased hostages, as promised in the ceasefire pact. Israel's defense minister made it crystal clear that any procrastination or evasion would be seen as a serious breach of the agreement, with appropriate consequences. For beginners wondering about the Rafah crossing, it's a crucial gateway for aid and people traveling between Egypt and Gaza, and its closure can severely impact daily life in the region. Hamas, for its part, explained the holdup by noting that pinpointing all burial sites isn't straightforward. Meanwhile, the deal saw Hamas release the 20 surviving hostages in exchange for nearly 2,000 Palestinians detained in Israeli prisons, a swap that highlighted the human cost on both sides. If you're intrigued by personal stories of heroism, check out this related piece. My friend Bipin threw back a Hamas grenade and saved my life. And for a deeper emotional dive, it's not over, says son of hostage whose body remains in Gaza. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, updated everyone on Tuesday morning, revealing that after thorough forensic analysis, family representatives were notified, and the bodies were brought back to Israel for dignified burials. The IDF described Guy Illouz, a sound technician in Israel's music scene hailing from the central town of Ra'anana, as having been wounded and seized alive by Hamas militants after fleeing an assault on the Nova Music Festival on October 7th. 2023, tragically, he succumbs to untreated injuries during his captivity. Adding a poignant detail, the Hostages and Missing Families Forum shared words from released hostage Maya Regev, who recounted how Illouz was abducted unconscious, left bound to a bed for an entire week. Just a day and a half before passing, he reportedly told her that his mother was the world's strongest woman, and upon returning home, he'd embrace her endlessly. Then there's Bipin Joshi, an agriculture student who'd only been in Israel for a short time before the October 7th attack on Kibbutz Alumim, a communal farm-like settlement that's a cornerstone of Israeli society, often living up to ideals of collective living and agriculture. According to the Hostages Families Forum, he dashed to a shelter with fellow international students and, in an act of incredible courage, batted away a live grenade with his bare hands, sparing many lives. The IDF concluded he was killed while imprisoned in the war's early months. By Tuesday evening, the Hostages and Missing Families Forum issued a statement embracing the families of Daniel Peretz and Yossi Sharabi, noting their return to Israel the previous day for proper interment. Yossi Sharabi, was snatched from his kibbutz Be'eri home alongside his brother Eli, whose British-Israeli wife and 2 daughters perished. Last year, IDF probes suggested Yossi died in a building collapse triggered by an Israeli airstrike on a nearby structure. Eli, however, was freed by Hamas in February 2025 under a prior ceasefire. As for Daniel Peretz, who moved from South Africa to Israel at age 13 and resided in Yad Binyamin, he served as a captain in the IDF's 7th Armored Brigade. He was fatally wounded in a tank assault near Nahal Oz on October 7th, with his remains later taken hostage to Gaza, per IDF findings. Final verdicts on their deaths will hinge on completed forensic exams, the military stated. The hostages' families forum expressed that retrieving these bodies offers some solace to kin enduring 2+ years of agonizing limbo. "We won't stop until all 24 hostages are home," they vowed. The IDF extended sympathies and committed to pushing for the rest via the ceasefire terms, warning Hamas to uphold its end by diligently returning all captives for respectful burials. Later, Israeli authorities informed Reuters they'd keep Rafah shut and scale back aid shipments until every body is accounted for. And this is the part most people miss. The UN's humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, spoke to the BBC, urging Hamas to fulfill promises quickly while reminding Israel to keep borders open for essential aid delivery. It's a balancing act that underscores the humanitarian crisis. Imagine the strain on Gaza's civilians, relying on that support for food, medicine, and rebuilding. Hamas hasn't publicly commented on the lag, but a high-ranking Palestinian source confided to the BBC on Tuesday that negotiations are underway with Egyptian mediators to sort it out. Hamas claims some bodies are buried under debris from Israeli bombings and demolitions, and they've asked for heavy equipment to aid recovery. Interestingly, the ceasefire document released by Israeli media last week seems to anticipate such hurdles, allowing for extensions if not all remains are found by the Monday noon deadline, 9 p.m. It outlines a collaborative process involving mediators and the Red Cross for sharing intel on locations. The Red Cross cautioned that searches might drag on for days or weeks. Locating human remains is far tougher than releasing living people, spokesman Christian Cardon told Geneva journalists. "We urge both sides to prioritize this as their utmost concern." In a separate note, Nasser's hospital in southern Gaza received 45 Palestinian bodies from Israel on Tuesday, aligning with the deal's stipulation of exchanging 15 Palestinian remains per Israeli hostage body. But here's where it gets controversial. Palestinians are increasingly alarmed that these delays could unravel the ceasefire entirely. Renowned writer Taysir Abed, documenting the war from a Khan Yunis tent, called it a perilous trial. He warned that prolonged standoffs, especially if Israel stalls on advancing Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan, might turn the corpses issue into a spark for renewed fighting. To put this in perspective, think of how unresolved grievances in past conflicts have reignited tensions. Could this be the tipping point? Compounding worries, Palestinians report ongoing deadly incidents. On Tuesday, medics reported Israeli drone strikes killing 5 in Gaza City's Shijaya district as they inspected homes, and another fatality from a strike east of Khan Yunis. The IDF claimed they targeted individuals crossing the yellow line, the agreed withdrawal boundary in Gaza, posing threats to troops. Hamas accused Israel of breaching the truce, sparking heated debates over who's truly upholding the peace. Zooming out, this all stems from the IDF's Gaza operation launched after Hamas's October 7, 2023 assault on southern Israel, which claimed around 1,200 lives and abducted 251 hostages. Since then, Gaza's health ministry reports over 67,913 Palestinian deaths from Israeli actions. And this is the part most people miss. The war's toll raises profound questions on justice, retaliation, and whether cycles of violence can ever truly end. What do you think? Is Israel's decision to restrict aid a fair response to Hamas's delays, or does it unfairly punish innocent civilians? Should Hamas be given more leeway given the rubble-strewn challenges? And could this ceasefire collapse, or is there hope for lasting peace? Share your views in the comments. Let's discuss the complexities that define this heartbreaking saga.